Okay, I see we have populated our Zoom room with some wonderful Jewish men and women. Hi, Hagit, nice to see you. Shalom, shalom. You look well. Okay, dear friends, I've got so much to say and so little time to say it, but we'll begin now, and God willing, we'll have time to build on some of the ideas. I don't need to tell you, because I think you know at this point, my friends, I think you know that right now we are living in crazy times. There's no other way to say it, my friends. We're living at a time in history, in world history, which in my life I've not known, and my family's life, this is something unheard of. And let's be honest, it's a challenge. It's a challenge in a number of ways. It's a physical challenge, it's emotional. For many of us, it's financial as well. We're being hit from many, many sides in many different ways. So what I want to do with the short amount of time we have together, I want to share with you three very, very important ideas. Ideas which I did not create, but ideas that I try to live by as best I can. It's not easy. We all fail. And I've called this talk 3 ways to face challenges head on. That's what we're looking at, my friends. 3 ways to face challenges head on. Now, each one of these ways I'm about to describe, first of all, there's many, many more ways. I'm not saying these are the only ways. But these 3 ways are deeply, deeply rooted in Jewish thought. These 3 ways are deeply rooted in Jewish psychology. And as we're going to see, Jewish history. This is not some academic idea we're sharing with you. Every idea I share with you, I'm going to show you how from the beginning of our people, from the beginning of world history, Jew and non-Jew, I hope, have plugged into these 3 ideas. I hope, it's definitely some of them, and some of you've seen recently. And there's room for hope. A lot of room for a lot of hope. So let's begin. What are these 3 ways to face challenges? So number 1 of the 3 ways is we Jews believe in miracles. It's really who we are. We are the miraculous nation. We were created, my friends, at Pesach time. That is when the Jewish people as a nation, as an were created. And like any other nation in history, that was created by people coming together, banding together to make themselves into a nation, a society, a country, a people with laws and history. And they just make it themselves. We, the Jewish people, we believe we were created by God in Egypt with great miracles that we came out of Egypt with, and great miracles, don't forget, that we entered into Israel with as well, 40 years after leaving Mitzrayim. What does that mean to believe in miracles? So let me tell you what it doesn't mean. And this is very, very important. It is forbidden. It is forbidden to rely upon miracles. No matter how religious, how spiritual, right, how much Bible you read, you're not allowed to throw yourself out of a window and hope that God catches you. You're not allowed to put yourself into a makom sakana. So much of Judaism, so much, is there to protect yourself. It says, ma'od. You have to really protect yourself. It doesn't just say protect yourself. It means really, really, ma'od is not used, as far as I know, in any other mitzvah. We're told that you have to go out of your way to protect your life. The Gemara tells many stories of people who won't walk into buildings that were destroyed, to hang around with dangerous people. It is forbidden. Al tismoch al hanes. You're not allowed to rely on miracles. You are not allowed to expect miracles to happen. You're not allowed to walk outside into places where you know people have diseases or viruses and say, God will protect me, I believe. It's not good enough. And it's not going to work. It's not going to work. What you are allowed to do, and this is a very subtle but very important difference, you're allowed to be open to the possibility of miracles happening. I'll say that again. You're allowed and expected to be open to the possibility that at any moment something amazing could happen which could protect us. I've done all my hishtadlut, all my effort, but I'm open to the miraculous nature of God, of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, running this world. Let me tell you about a great man who many of you probably have never heard of, but he's considered one of the great miracle men of Jewish history. And the Gemara tells a number of stories about him. Some of them are incredibly remarkable. I want to tell you a very short and simple story. His name was Hanina ben Dosa. Hanina ben Dosa was known as the miracle man. He was such a miracle man that when the Jewish people were in danger or needed to deal with a very challenging situation, they pushed him forward. And he usually went, reluctantly, but he went. That was Hanina ben Dosa. He was a very holy individual. When they needed rain in Israel, Hanina ben Dosa. When they were dealing with foreign enemies and foreign kings, and they needed someone to go negotiate for them, they sent Hanina ben Dosa. And the following story is told about Hanina ben Dosa and his daughter. Hanina ben Dosa was at home, and for some reason, I don't know what happened to his wife. Maybe she had died, maybe she was away, I'm not sure. She was not available to be with him and his daughter for Shabbat. And his daughter was about to light the Shabbat candles. And then she realized something terrible had happened, and she ran in to see her Abba, Hanina ben Dosa, and says, Abba, something terrible has just occurred. And he said, what? And she said, instead of buying oil for the lights of Shabbat, I bought vinegar. And so I can't do the mitzvah of Hadlakat Nerot. I can't light the Shabbat lights, says the Gemara, because she said to her father, instead of buying oil, I bought vinegar. And he was like, what's the big deal? Just light them. And she's like, what do you mean just light them? I put vinegar. I bought vinegar by mistake. Vinegar does not burn. Everybody knows that. What burns is oil. And we don't have oil in the house. And we have no time to go and make or buy oil. So we're not going to have the beautiful mitzvah of Shabbat lights in our home. And Hanina ben Dosa said the following words to her. He said, let me tell you something, my dear daughter. The same God who said oil can burn can also make vinegar burn. Try, light the lights, see what happens. And off she goes. And she lit the lights with the vinegar inside the bulbs, and they lit miraculously, because we all know that vinegar is not combustible. It does not catch fire. And they lit, and they stayed lit. And they stayed lit all of Shabbat until Motzei Shabbat. She was able to light the Havdalah candle of those candles. By the way, holy Jewish women, if your candles last all of Shabbat and you're able to light off them, like Saramenu or Hanina ben Dosa or Rivka's lights lasted all Shabbat till Motzei Shabbat, it's a sign you're a tzedeket. I once told that to a group of students, and she says, Rabbi, I have a plan. And instead of lighting regular Shabbat lights, she lit big Havdalah candles that lasted all of Shabbat. You know what? It worked. Dayenu, Motzei Shabbat, she was able to do it. You don't need to do that. You don't need to do that. The mitzvah is to light them and have them light for you to enjoy during the meal. What was Hanina ben Dosa telling his daughter? He was telling her a fundamental truth about miracles. And what is that? That miracles can occur. And even if you find yourself in the most challenging situation, if you're stuck at home, viruses, disease, wars, it's all the same. It's all one big milchama. Says Chazal beautifully, Afilu cheref chadud munachat al tzava shel adam. Even if a person has a sharp knife that is hanging on their shoulder, ready to kill them, chas v'chalila, al yimnatz ma min rachamim. Don't ever give up on God's mercy that can come. Yeshua Hashem k'heref ayin. In the blink of an eye, God's salvation can come. And therefore, and by the way, Jewish history is full, replete with stories of people who found themselves in the worst, most terrible situations and circumstances, and then in one instant, v'nafachu, it can all turn around. The Purim story, Mordechai and Esther were about to die. The entire Jewish people were about to be wiped out. And they said, Hashem's mercy, I'm not relying upon a miracle. I'm going to do my effort. I'll pray. I'll do what I need to do. And it can come at any moment. And when it does come, it turns things around. From the worst to the best. Where did they learn it out from? They learned it out from the story of Yehuda and Yosef. Yehuda didn't realize that Yosef was Yosef. He thought it was the viceroy of Egypt. He thought he was second in command to Pharaoh. And he and his brothers, and therefore the entire Jewish people, were going to be wiped out. And he stood up and he did what he had to do. And in 1 second, Ani Yosef Oravinu Chai. I am Joseph. Everything, when Hashem changes things, they can turn around in 1 second. That is the power of miracles. You have to believe that incredible things can happen. When I say miracles, I mean things that humans cannot do, God is able to do, and He can do it, keheref ayin, in the blink of an eye. That is the secret of Jewish history. It's the secret of every war, of every pogrom, of every Holocaust. It's who we are as a people. We are open to God's mercy that can turn things around in a miraculous nature and go against the tides of nature that are upon us. And that's what Hanina ben Dosa was saying to his daughter. You're seeing the world as miraculous and non-miraculous. You're seeing those two things. You see nature and miracle as two separate realities. We don't. We see nature as a miracle as well. We just see it so often. That for us it's like at the birth of my child. Right? God willing, if you haven't, you'll all experience it. The birth of a child, something for 20 years, or if they're Jewish, 30 or 40 years. Right? But there you are at the birth. And I'm looking at it, and I'm getting all crying, and my mascara is coming down, and I got a snot bubble. I'm getting all emotional. And the nurse is there. Whatever. Footprint, drops in the eye. You're like, what's going on over here? How come this nurse isn't emotional with me? Because the nurse sees it every day. So for the nurse, it's become teva. The word teva means nature. Right? We say even... People say, nature, I believe in nature, right? People who say they're atheists, nature decided this that way. Or if they're really religious atheists, Mother Nature, right? For us, the Hebrew word for nature is teva. The word teva is very interesting. The word teva means tavua, to sink in. Tavua. A person can sink into this world and think that the natural world is all there is. The word teva also comes from the word matbeya. Matbeya means a coin. A coin is an imprint, however, of the spiritual, of the world above it. What gives a coin value? The imprint that's on it. That's what gives it its value, not just the raw material. So to this world, nature for us is an imprint of God. Therefore, you can look at the world and see the miraculous nature, or see the world and just see nothing at all. No godliness, just things that happen to be there. For us, we see the miraculous. Hanina ben Dosa, for him, there was no difference in nature and no nature. It was all miraculous. And therefore, the fact that oil burns is itself miraculous. Meaning, God decided. And therefore, the same God who says oil burns can say vinegar burns. It's possible. And for him, it happened. By the way, I've heard many people say, then why don't miracles happen for me? Why do I get miracles? I'll tell you why miracles don't exist. Open miracles. Closed miracles do. But why do open miracles not exist anymore? Let me tell you the secret for this. This is very, very important. The reason there are no open miracles is because we are not worthy of them. Let me explain. The reason someone like Hanina ben Dosa was able to formulate or even create or be worthy of the miracles is because for him there was no separation of nature and miracle. It was all miracle. It was all God's incredible design. Let me give you an example, just to flesh this out. I had a friend of mine who bought a house in Israel. And it was a broken down house. And it was in the old city of Jerusalem. And while he was going through the deeds and all the rest of it, they found photographs of an original owner, some rabbi that lived many, many generations before. He met an uncle of his who looked at the deed and said, let me tell you something amazing. This house was owned by our ancestor. Your great-great-great-grandfather owned this house in Jerusalem. This man had managed to buy a house that had actually belonged to his family 3 or 4 generations before. Can you imagine how mind-blowing that is? Imagine what that does to your head. So he went to see his rabbi and said, Rabbi, the most miraculous thing happened. I went to buy this house, I closed on it, we found the deed, and we found out the house was owned, and we have photographic evidence and deeds that it belonged 3, 4 generations ago. And the rabbi said, yeah, so what? He's like, what do you mean, so what? Can you believe the house has re-entered my family? It's now part of our family. Can you believe it? I bought my great-grandfather's house. And he's like, I don't understand. Are you trying to prove to me that God exists? I know God exists. I know miracles happen. They happen all the time. In other words, you see the sun go up. Of course it goes up. That's nature. No. We Jews say that's miraculous as well. That's worth being grateful to God for. Miracles for us are amazing, and so is nature. And therefore, when you see a miracle, and your reaction is, what you're saying is, I don't know if really God's involved in my life. There's nature and there's miracle. Okay, that's number one. Number one is believe in miracles. Any challenge you have, situation is going to become better very quickly. Number two is really important. And it's a very serious topic. It may not sound it, but it is. Another great way to face challenges is laugh. You've got to laugh. You need a sense of humor. Every rabbi thinks they're funny. Many are not. I understand that. Every father has dad jokes. But the secret, and I'm being very serious when I say this, one of the secrets to Jewish survival of overcoming challenges is the ability to laugh. Let me tell you where this comes from. We're about, God willing, in a couple of weeks to celebrate Pesach. Pesach celebrates the release of the Jewish people from Mitzrayim, from Egypt. 7 days after leaving Egypt, the Jewish people were at the Yam Suf, the Red Sea. Now, all of you know what happened. In front of the Jewish people was a Red Sea. Behind them were 600 choice chariots of Pharaoh and his choice soldiers. To the right and left was a desert. As far as the Jewish people were concerned, we were dead. Finished. Nada. All done. Khalas. The Jewish people did something very interesting. Very interesting. They made a statement which is recorded in the Torah, in the Pasuk, in Beshalach. And the verse they said was, Hamabli. They were speaking, don't know if it was everyone or someone, but everyone was involved in this. They said, Hamabli. Ein kavar Mitzrayim, lekachtanu lemudbar. God, were there no graves in Egypt that you brought us to die here at the Red Sea? What a strange question. What do you mean, were there no graves in Egypt? Of course there are graves in Egypt. Their parents died, they were buried there. Their grandparents were buried and died over there. Why would they say this? Rashi, when he understands it, he says the verse is, but to me it's rhetorical. It's as though, were there no graves there, we should die over here. That doesn't really answer what they were really saying. There was a German rabbi called Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch, and he has a great, one of my favorite commentaries on the Torah. And he translates this verse and says, this is a very deep thing they were saying. When they said, were there no graves in Egypt that we should die here in the desert? They were actually making a joke. It's actually the first ever joke in Jewish history. Oh, I see, Moshe Rabbeinu. No graves over there? No problem. I'll just die over here, shall I? Why would they make a joke? And he says, it's a very short statement, but I'll say it verbatim. He says that the Jewish people, at the deepest and most dangerous times that we are going to face in Jewish history, because remember, this happened at the genesis of the Jewish people, just as we were being forged and created as a nation after leaving Egypt, right about before we were about to receive the Torah at Har Sinai, at Mount Sinai. We made a joke because, says Rabbi Hirsch, the secret of the Jewish people is that we are going to encounter many great difficulties. We're going to have pogroms. We're going to have galut, exiles thrown upon us. We're going to have holocausts. But there's one thing that we have, a secret weapon, which goes back to our earliest beginnings, that's going to help us survive challenges, and that is the ability to laugh. And they did laugh. And they made a joke, says Rabbi Hirsch. And at that moment, Nachshon ben Aminadab went into the water, God put out his staff, the wind had blown all night, and the sea split. You know, I'll tell you something interesting. When it comes to marriage, one of the comparisons, there's a few, but one of the comparisons that is made to create Yam Suf is God making shidduchim and marriage in general. And that is because marriage, especially when we're living together in a house and can't escape like we are now, can become very, very stressful. And having kids at home, or maybe being alone, or whatever we're dealing with, can become very, very stressful. We have the ability to make jokes. The ability to laugh is going to split the sea of danger that's in front of us. Just as the Jewish people laughed and the sea split, so too, I tell my friends and my family, I tell couples who I'm about to marry, I'm like, there's going to be times when you're in deep despair. There are times when you don't have the Yam Suf in front of you, you have your parents. And you don't have the Mitzrayim behind you, you have your in-laws. It's a good and accurate description, a comparison, my friends. Trust me, I'm a rabbi. However, we have the ability to laugh. And when you laugh, what are you saying? What are you saying? You're saying, this is nothing. I laugh at this because I believe in Hashem, I believe in miracles, and anything can turn around. Even the greatest miracle, I'm not going to expect it, I'm not going to rely upon it, but I'm open to it. Then my friend, miracles happen. The power to laugh. I have a good friend, Alav Shalom, who died. He was a Holocaust survivor. I led 3 trips with him, Holocaust trips to Auschwitz. He was a Holocaust survivor. He spent many of his teenage years in Auschwitz. And he was one of those guys who survived the Holocaust, came out like an ox, a strong man. He lost his family, he had no money, came to America as a kid. He made lots of money afterwards, became a great philanthropist. Label Leo Zisman. Maybe on the trip with me, you met this incredible individual. His wife Myrna, thank God, she live and be well. Still lives in the 5 towns. So I was walking around Auschwitz with him, right? And he would make extraordinary statements like, "You want to see my bunk?" I was like, "What is this, Camp Morasha?" He's like, "Come, let me show you where I lived." Okay, and he takes you, in Auschwitz there's hundreds and hundreds of these bunks that are lined up. Only a few of them are open. Only a few of them open. Most of them are sealed. Few open, there's like museum pieces. He takes me to his bunk, which happened to be sealed, and had a wood plank nailed into the front of it. And he said, "This is where I lived for 3 years." He goes, "You want to see inside?" I'm like, "Label, it's nailed shut." He's like, "Don't worry about it." Strong guy. Put his foot against the door, grabbed the wood, and pulled it off. And I said, "Label, they're going to arrest us." And he looked at me and said, "Lawrence, they can't put me back in here twice. Don't worry about it." And we went in and we saw where he lived, his hut. Obviously a terrible, terrible place. And I said to him, "Label, how did you survive?" And he said, "Let me tell you something. Food we didn't have. Money we didn't have. Family didn't have. Who are your friends? Difficult to know. But there's one thing that we had, and that was a sense of humor. And those who had a sense of humor, those who had the ability to tell jokes, they were the survivors. If you could laugh, you had that what we call gallows humor, you could build your faith up, you kept your spirits up. It was a crucial part to who we are. We learn from our ancestors, he said, that at the most difficult times, you're able to laugh, things see splits. And actually, in the gift shop at Auschwitz, I know it's depressing to think, there is a gift shop in Auschwitz. There was a book called Laughter in Hell, written by a guy who I actually had a conversation with, Steve Lippman. And he collected together a number of jokes and stories, not about the Holocaust, but written by people actually in the Holocaust, and actually put them together, and drawings they would make fun of Hitler, Yamach Shemo, and about the situation they were in. The people who had this ability to laugh, many of those people were able to survive the challenges. So I know you're getting lots of memes and videos, you feel guilty. It's not a bad thing. Okay, we looked at 2 things so far. 1 more to go, and we'll finish off in 5 minutes. Number 1, believe in miracles. Things can change quickly. Number 2, the secret of laughter. Laughter is a coping mechanism that actually was... Why are so many Jews comedians? Right? There's a secret to it, right? You ever watch those movies at the end? Right? The writers, everyone's a Jew. Right? I play, who's the Jew spotting at the end of the movie or the comedy. There's always a Jew in there. There's always a Jew as a Goldberg, a Goldstein, a Cohen. Right? Writer, producer, director, actor. Everyone's Jewish. There's a reason why. Right? We have this innate ability that's in our genes. Right? Not our Levi's. Our real genes from the earliest days. Number 3. And this is as, if not more important today than it ever was before. And that is, we all have to build faith. Emunah. Faith is not easy. It's not easy enough just to say, "I believe and God will save." Right? It's not enough. Faith is like a muscle. The Hebrew word for faith is emunah. The word emunah does not mean faith or belief. Right? We don't have faith or belief. Belief is, I don't know, I believe. Maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. We have faith. The word emunah comes from the word omen, which means an umnut. It's a profession. Something you have to work at. Something you have to try. Something you put effort into. It's not a natural thing. It takes a lot of effort. People walk around scared all the time. In order to have faith, you've got to really build a true relationship with God. You've got to pray. You've got to seek God in your life. You've got to see through nature that God is operating in this world. That things don't happen by coincidence. Right? You've got to see from you've got to know Jewish history. You've got to know from the Torah right through. The fact that we're even here as a people in 2020 makes no sense. The greatest miracle of Jewish history is the fact that Jewish people are still here and still shopping wholesale and refuse to buy retail. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. We have faith. Umnut. For us, faith is a job. It's something you have to work at. Right? The word Emunah has the word Amen inside it. Amen is Aleph, Mem, Nud, Nun, El, Melech Ne'eman, God the faithful King. The word Emunah does not mean faith or belief, it means being faithful. Faithful? Faithful to what? To that which I know. You can be faithful and you should be faithful to what you know, to your da'at. Da'at is knowledge. I have knowledge and therefore I am faithful to what I know. And even that's not so simple. We all know people who are very, very smart and yet they smoke. Right? I had a certain potential heart problem many years ago. Thank God I got the all clear. I went to see a cardiologist. And I'm sitting with him and he says to me, do you smoke? He says smoking is bad for you. And he's talking through about heart. And he gave me the whole lecture. And while he's examining me, it's a true story. And while he's examining me, I was like, I smell smoke. And he's like, yeah, I smoke. I'm like, what? You're the cardiologist. He's like, yeah, I started in medical school. I couldn't stop. So I still smoke. What's missing over here? What's missing? Does he have the knowledge? Yeah. He's a very smart guy. Happens to be a brilliant cardiologist that many people told me to go visit. But he's not faithful to his knowledge. We all know we should act a certain way. We know it. Based upon what we learn, what we hear, halakha, our rabbis, Jewish history, we know it. But are we faithful to our knowledge? Knowing things is easy. Turn on the computer. Look at the stories, look at history, look at Wikipedia. Full of knowledge. But being faithful to what you know, that's difficult. So faith is faithful, emunah, based upon knowledge from the past. What about the future? Do you have faith in the future? Yes, but that's a different word. And that is bitachon. Bitachon is I trust in God that everything's going to be okay in the future. You need emunah in order to have bitachon. Emunah is based upon knowledge. Knowledge is based upon direct knowledge or knowledge you glean from other people. People tell me to sit inside. There's a virus out there. I can't see it. I am faithful to those doctors and those scientists and the president say, don't go outside. Bitachon. Bitachon is, do I trust in God? Bitachon is as, if not more important. Are you going to find the right shidduch? Are my kids going to find shidduch? Am I going to be healthy? Am I going to parnasa this year? I don't know. I can't be faithful because faithful is what I know, but I don't know what the future holds. But you have bitachon. If you have emunah, you're able to build your muscle of bitachon, of trust in God, that the future is going to be okay. That the future is going to be okay. That is faith in the future. That God is going to take care of us. And God has our backs as He has right through history. Through all the challenges that we've had. We believe in miracles. We laugh off all the challenges and the difficulties that come to us. We're like, I trust in God that the future will be okay. Based upon what? Based on my emunah. Based on my past. The past has taught us, the Jewish people, whether we were Mordechai and Esther, the Jewish people in Egypt, or standing with the Yam Suf, whether we were Abraham standing with his child who had a knife to his throat, Yitzchak's throat, everything was going to be okay. It's all going to work out. That, my friends, are the three ways that we face challenges head on. Number one, be open to miracles. They can happen in any moment. Don't rely upon them, but be open to them. See them. Try to see them in your life. Hear inspiring stories about great people who've been saved by miracles. They can happen for us too at any time. Number two, laugh. Because when you laugh, God will say to you, I'm going to give you whatever you need. That is the secret of Hanina ben Dosa. And finally, have emunah and bitachon. We have a lot more to say on each one of those three, but I was told I got 30 minutes. And for me, as you know, less is more. Any questions on anything I said so far, I'll be happy to hear from you. Feel free to unmute yourself, ask questions, type questions. Okay, my dear friends, we've come to an end. God willing, Thank you very much, Simon. Thank you so much. Thank you. God willing, we will see great redemptions come to our people. Geherif Ayin in a moment. We will go Afela La'ora, from the darkness of our homes to the light, God willing, of survival. And as we'll speak about soon, in a couple of days, and we're talking about Mashiach, God willing, we'll see the redemption come very, very soon. Thank you. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Bye, guys. Bavakasha.